Welcome. Welcome to reInvent 2024. Welcome to a co-presentation by myself, Michael Wormsley, and Sharad from Qlik. I'm from Accenture. Today we're going to talk about data. We're talking about generative AI. We're talking about unlocking the barriers that are stopping enterprises today from really elevating their use of generative AI. So welcome to 2024. It's the era of generative AI, and it's been very, very busy, I'm sure. I love this quote from Jesse Hughes. It really resonates to me with where we are right now today. This was taken from the Sydney Summit this year, and it really speaks to the world we're living in today from a technology perspective. And today with Sharad, we're going to talk through an architectural blueprint that we've worked on that'll help accelerate the use of generative AI in the enterprise world. My name is Michael Wormsley. I'm an AWS serverless hero. I work for Accenture. I'm a lead technology architect in the GenWizard group. We focus on building internal products, and I work across ANZ in Australia, in the data across the data and AI sectors of Accenture and our customer sectors. So we're talking about accelerated innovation. Jesse's words say about we're accelerating the world. So in this Gen AI era, we need to be able to accelerate towards that the digital innovation. We need to be operating in the cloud. Sorry, I'm going forward. And we need to be accelerating the adoption of AI across our enterprise. But there are barriers in the way. There's things stopping us from moving fast. And these barriers are security. Security in the generative AI world is evolving still. We aren't getting better understandings. We're getting really good at this, but it's still evolving. They're one of the main barriers. Complexity. Business and operational change at speed is complex in the enterprise world. So we need to really focus in on how can we make that simpler? How can we make that faster? Without that in play, we're really going to struggle. Legacy systems, applications that exist within enterprises today, they need to be modernized. They're not ready for generative AI today. They're not ready for it. They don't embrace the cloud-native principles at the core of systems that they need to be built to consume generative AI. And we have a lack of core skills. So the core skills for cloud-native development still don't exist at any massive weight within the enterprise. So that needs to be moving forward as well. With the architecture we're developing today at Accenture, we're focusing and honing in on legacy applications, really focusing in on modernization, because we feel that's the place where our enterprise customers can get the most value and where we can move the needle from thinking about generative AI to actually using generative AI. And we think that's the most powerful lever we can pull. So how do we reach that next level of innovation? Today I'm going to focus on two aspects of the many aspects you need to focus on. I'm going to focus on shifting the mindset of the enterprise, shifting our mindset from owning and delivering projects and large-scale transformations into creating products. We need to be able to create smaller products, and those products need to be within our business domains. Gone are the days of being able to move entire big transformations of systems across the enterprise. That's hard, that's difficult, that's not at speed anymore. So the idea here is that we focus on building smaller products. Those products can be built out quickly in a data domain. They can be used and consumed very, very quickly. And they can be evolved over time alongside everything else that the enterprise is doing from all those modern systems. We can slowly evolve what you're doing with those systems to create and transform the enterprise. I also want to hone in on composable architecture. I strongly believe, as a serverless hero and a serverless expert and someone who builds cloud native and been doing that for a lot of years, that composable architecture is the real core of what enables us to move at speed. being able to build reusable services. I'm not going to use the word microservices because that says the size. Services do a thing, and it does a thing well. And it doesn't matter what the size is. It's just a service that can be reused and reorchestrated and remixed into a larger application or system or platform. And that's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about composable architecture. And the beauty there is we're going to need to start changing that mindset of lift and shift into approaching building modern cloud-native applications and looking at progressively modernizing our technology landscapes. The other benefit is if you start using cloud-native services, the operational expense component of running your systems means you'll be able to do more for your customers with less. So you'll be spending less, getting value for your customers. So I work for GenWizard at Accenture, and this is where we build what I call assets for the generative AI world, or for the era of AI. I really think I'm going to label this the era of AI because that's what we're in. It's been really intense. I'm sure you've all felt the hype. At GenWizard, we've been building assets around artificial intelligence. We've been doing that for a long time, years. This GenWizard group has existed within Accenture for 5 years. As soon as generative AI came out, we started reworking our systems to leverage the power of generative AI and looking at how can we get our systems to use that more effectively. Systems we build in the GenWizard group, we have an AIOps automation suite. We have a canvas for document generation to allow our customers to build out documents faster. We're doing call center automation with Bedrock agents and smart agents. And we've got also working on what's called total enterprise reinvention, using generative AI to analyze existing systems and reimagine those with new architectures for the new world that we need to be working in. What I'm going to be focusing on today is Event Fabric. I'm also a product owner of Event Fabric within Accenture and the GenWizard Event Fabric product. And that's where we talk about AI and data automation. And we're going to be talking a little bit about that today and a little bit about an architecture that can enable enterprises to engage and use the products that we've got pulling together here to transform the way you get your data to generative AI and move faster. So generative AI is changing everything, including how we think about enterprise technology. So the top challenge for businesses today is data readiness. The challenge there is getting your data to generative AI. Having your data accessible to AI is the top challenge. And it's the top challenge that we're trying to solve here. And that's why I want to focus on that today when we're talking. So let's talk about traditional data architecture. Traditional data architecture stack, shown here on the diagram, is very, very, very common. Data is extracted from source systems, from enterprise platforms. They're moved into a central store. The entire process of taking that data is often long, complex, and it's full of edge cases when we're pulling in lots of data from lots of enterprise platforms. Generally, enterprises are centralizing their data. They're centralizing those into data lakes, building monolithic transformation projects to build out what they're going to use for the generative AI. Often these are technology-led by a central team or a central core team, and that becomes a central monolithic solution. And it can leave our business stakeholders out in the cold, out of the loop, to actually create, and it's actually creating roadblocks for high-velocity innovation and change. This approach is not ideal for the new world, and we need to start looking forward to removing the barriers so we can move faster. So, what does it mean to be generative AI ready? For an enterprise to be generative AI ready, we need to be really changing the mindset of what we think about. We need to be thinking about data as a strategic asset. The data must be acquired, we need to grow it, we need to refine it, we need to safeguard it, and we need to be able to deploy that somewhere for use or make it available for use. We need to extract data from silos. Now, when I talk about silos, I'm not talking about business domains. I'm not talking about data domains. I'm talking about the platforms across the enterprise that hold the data that we need and you need to be able to utilize So we're talking about platforms like SAP, Salesforce, ServiceNow, common enterprise platforms where data gets locked up and is not easily accessible for fast innovation and easy access. We need to be distributed and not centralized. So we really need to think about distributing what we do with a product-centered mindset. And I really feel that if we all think about products as an item of compute, we actually get to the point where we're actually going to naturally create distributed systems. Conway's law is like this, right? The structure of your organization dictates the structure of the systems you build. So if we can change our mindset and start thinking about products, we can actually start changing the way we build and the way you build. And that's what we need to be doing. That's what I think every enterprise needs to be doing. And that's the part of the needle we're trying to move here. We need to be additive in the environment. We need to be additive to the enterprise landscape, not transformative. What do I mean by that? Right? If you look at most businesses today, they're building big pipelines, big systems. They're doing transformative systems, transforming business data movement, transforming business processes. All of those things are complex, take a lot of time. And by the time you've finished, the way we're moving in the industry, the way we've moved over the last 12 months with generative AI, everyone's seen the speed. If you're moving a transformative project, by the time you're done, your goalposts will have moved multiple times, and you'll end up never delivering that project. But if we can start with something that's additive, a data product, and then slowly, progressively build that up over time, we do away with that big transformation. And then we're also on the journey to progressively modernizing. And of course, we need AI. We need foundation models. We need access to those. So we need to build those into the environment and make those available. And make those available to all of our development teams, which can be hard. But by breaking it down again, you're dealing with smaller teams, which actually makes it simpler. So I guess the key message here is the smaller we can be, the faster we can move. The smaller change is better, because as we make more and more and more smaller changes, the transformation of the overall enterprise will slowly occur. And that's what we need to be doing. So with Qlik, I've been working this year, we've been working on an AI-ready data architecture. Working closely, and what we're working on here is focusing on data products for the Gen AI era. So really focusing on smaller architectures. It's the key difference from the traditional architecture here is we've split what we're doing with our data from low velocity on the right side, that's the traditional stack, to high velocity on the left side. So we can utilize tools such as the Qlik ETL tools or the Qlik CDC tools, and that enables us to actually create domain events quickly as they occur on the platforms we're doing. And that's how we can get data out of our enterprise platforms and start using events, pushing those up into the GenWizard Event Fabric product. So the whole point of this architecture is to increase the velocity of data updates, to increase the consumption of those updates as time goes on. The high velocity data events get consumed by Event Fabric, enabling routing of critical events into all sorts of places. It can be core enterprise systems forwarding to other business domains, being forwarded to AI systems for sentiment analysis, email generation, or other critical automation tasks. The key here is automation tasks. GenWizard, as a group, grew out of building automations. We build automations for documents, for call agents, for AI ops. That's where all the foundation of what we do started. And automation is the key to being able to move fast. If computers can do it for us, and we don't have to do it, we can move so much faster. The Event Fabric can also enable us to consume data events and apply automation workflows to process the changes. So those automation routines with Event Fabric accelerate the time to value for critical business events. You know, when you're sending data around, the faster you can process that data, the faster you can do something for your customer, the more value you end up generating for your customer. And that's the philosophy behind what we're doing here today and what we're talking about here today. And at the end of the day, we're going to deliver immediate outcomes for our customers alongside the traditional reporting roles that you have. And the AI-ready data platform is a foundational building block that we're using for the future for providing higher value outcomes across every business domain within enterprises today. But what if we could get our data to generative AI really fast? What if we could do that immediately? What if you didn't have to deliver a complete system and data pipeline to be ready for generative AI? What if we could progressively move towards the new future state, adopting technology, change safely with lower risk, through evolving our systems rather than running large and costly transformation projects? GenWizard Event Fabric, when we bring it all together, is an intelligent event-driven hub for rapid cloud modernization. The best mental model for people in the room about what we're doing is think about this as an enterprise service bus. It's the most common analogy. It's not quite right. It's a little bit dumbed down, but that's effectively what we're talking about here. So Event Fabric enables direct integration with Amazon Bedrock and intelligent agents. That enables us to get one event, it's one single event, and we can actually do an intelligent action off of that event, or a myriad of intelligent actions. An agent might be deciding, what do I do with that data? And just make a decision about, well, I'm going to send the data off that it needs to be looked at. The customer's unhappy. We should actually escalate that automatically. So you're doing sentiment analysis. It's quite accurate to do sentiment analysis. We can do that in a myriad of ways. But you can have agents determine, hey, this needs to be escalated automatically, and actually go through that escalation. So agents can be automatically enriched. They can enrich data updates, and they can run workflows which enable any of the event automations to be triggered. At the same time, we've also got the ability to do data integration to other business domains. And this comes back to the distributed nature of being distributed for creating generative AI systems that are distributed. So with an AI-ready data platform and with the Qlik data products we're using and leveraging through the partner programs together, we've actually created the fact that every business domain within an enterprise can have its own AI-ready blueprint. One of the things we're doing with Event Fabric is enabling domain peering between the domains. So now enterprise architecture, the enterprise architects across enterprises can actually look at the bigger picture and actually use the domain peering to enable events to transform the entire business. And it works really quickly and very remotely, and it enables every different domain to move fast, to innovate, to get to the future quicker. And that's what we're about today, getting to the future quicker. And the beauty of this is, with this kind of peering, we're enabling instant cross-domain collaboration without needing complex or custom code to be developed for every integration you need between your different business domains. And that's magic. That's really magic. So working with Qlik and our wider partner ecosystems, we can deliver a data architecture that's flexible, composable, and one that can adapt to change and meets the customer exactly where they are in their data journey. Because we're looking at progressively modernizing through the addition of an AI data-ready stack, that actually means that we can progressively modernize any business, no matter the size. Right, I'm going to hand over to Sharad from Qlik to come up on stage and carry on with the presentation.
Yeah. Thank you. All right, thank you, Michael. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Sharad Kumar. I'm the field CTO of data at Qlik. So a little bit about Qlik if you don't know. We're a data analytics and AI software company. We have more than 3,600 employees globally. We have been a leader in the Gartner Magic Quadrant in multiple areas: data integration, data quality, and BI and analytics. We have tens and thousands of customers across the globe who use our software for their data and analytics needs. So Michael talked about an interesting point in his presentation that we need to move from project thinking to product thinking and build architectures that are more modular and more composable. So in the world of data, that's equivalent to the concept of data products. So what I'm going to talk about today is what is data products, why do we need them today in this world of AI, and then I'll specifically talk about how our platform, the Qlik Talend Cloud, enables creation and management of these data products. And we'll specifically take an example of data products sourced from SAP in a supply chain domain. So real quick disclaimer, I'll be talking about some of the product capabilities as well as features and functionalities to our standard disclaimer. So in order to move from data to outcomes, you have two major types of stakeholder groups. You have the data producers and you have the data consumers. The data producers source data and make it available for consumption, and the data producers use that data to create insights and outcomes. So if you're data consumers today, right, and you need to analyze, use data for analytic projects, it's not very easy. You need to search and find the data. You need to understand it. Is it in my context? What does it mean for me? Is it good quality? Can I trust it? Where did it come from? Who owns it? More often than not, it's in a form I can't really use, right? So I got to do a lot of work to get it ready. At the same time, you have data producers. Their main job is to get the data out of the source systems, make it consumable, right? They need to put it into a platform that's scalable. They need to make sure it's secure. And what happens a lot of time, the producers don't understand the needs of the business users or the use cases. So what that creates is a gap between data producers and data consumers. And what that leads to is a lack of adoption, higher cost, and longer time to outcomes. And often in these scenarios, you'll see that data becomes a hurdle to really maximizing the value or taking advantage of the power of your analytics. So data architectures have been evolving. When we first started off, it was a very project-oriented approach, right? So if I need to do analysis, I start a project team, I go find data, I source data, I prep the data myself, do my analytics on it, and every team does the same. So it's not a very scalable approach, a lot of duplication of work across these project teams. So we said, okay, maybe we'll solve them by building out this centralized platform. And Michael was talking about this earlier, right? So what typically happens in this case is we have large centralized IT groups who pull the data out of sources and they make it available in one place. Cloud warehouses, lake houses, data lakes, right? But what happens is these projects are done without significant involvement from the business. So they don't know, it's not built with specific use cases in mind. So there's a great promise of reuse of this data in this platform, but it doesn't deliver the value that you expect it to. So we're seeing the evolution of this architecture, moving towards more a federated or a service-oriented architecture where domain-aligned data teams create and package up data as data products and serve it up to business for easier consumption. So I think this type of architecture is still in early stage of its evolution. I expect about probably less than 10% of the companies use it, but it's a great way to modularize data and make it more consumable. So you can look at as data products really become that bridge between data producers and data consumers. And these data products have measurable value. They deliver value because they're aligned to use cases. These data products have an owner. They are aligned to a domain. They are curated, trusted, good quality, right? They're easy to consume. They have a life cycle of your own. So you don't build a monolithic data product day one. You start small and you build iteratively based on user feedback. Just like we build real life products. They have life cycle of their own. And this reusability and ease of consumability leads to faster use case delivery and lower costs. Now, if you look at data products, treating data as a product actually simplifies how you manage data in your environment. An analogy I often use is data products are to centralized data what microservices are to applications. Right? So very similar to what Michael was talking earlier, data products make data more usable, modular, and composable. So what does it look like in an enterprise, right? You have different domains. You have supply chain domain, you have sales domain, you have HR domain. And then within each domain, you may have one or more data product teams that focus on building and managing data products specific to the domain. So these teams understand the user. They understand the user needs, how they want to consume the data, and they build data products, and they build them iteratively. So this federation brings a lot of agility because we are not building complex monolithic data pipelines anymore. We're not building these large-scale enterprise data model that takes years to build because each of these data product teams build their own pipeline. They shape the data they want, they model the data they want because they understand the consumer needs. So what's inside a data product if I break it apart? Right? So typically, if you look at data has been a byproduct of code. But when you look at a data product, it combines data and code. So the heart of data product is obviously a data set. Could be tables, could be files, could be a combination. But what's packaged with the data product is its transformation logic, its data quality rules, its semantics and business meaning, its policies around data protection and access control policies, service level objectives, data contracts in terms of how you expose the data. Data product tracks who's using the data product and for what purpose. So you have usability metrics all packaged into a data product. So AI adoption is on the rise, right? It's been given a huge boost by generative AI. And now models are off the shelf. So what differentiates you from others is your data. Right? And the readiness of your data is most critical to the success of your AI initiative. So what does it mean to have AI-ready data? So multiple things. Your data needs to be integrated. It needs to be timely. It needs to be good quality. It needs to be secure. It needs to be contextual, right? And it needs to be consumable. So data products are a great way to deliver AI-ready data for your analytic and AI applications. So if you look at the simple picture here, a data product could satisfy multiple types of needs of different type of consumption patterns. It could have a SQL interface to which you can build your BI and your dashboards against. It could provide a file type of interfaces for you to train machine learning algorithms. And it could have a vectorized interface where you can build RAG-enabled, LLM-enabled next-generation application. Because your domain of the data is same. You can use it for multiple purposes. You don't need to build separate pipelines and separate data sets. It unifies the data for consumption. That's the beauty of data products. So if you look at this stat from IDC survey, pretty interesting. And you look at the maturity of AI organizations that have mature AI programs. And there's a high correlation between maturity of AI and adoption of the data product mindset in these companies, right? That means companies who treat data as a product and bring these principles tend to do better in AI. Because it makes AI easier to do by providing that AI-ready data. So Michael showed the AI reference architecture. So Qlik data the product capabilities within the Qlik platform fit neatly into a lot of different areas within the reference architectures. Everything from data movement and transformation to building governance in the data, building trust in the data, analytics, and AI functions. So I'm going to build upon some of the concepts that Michael talked about earlier. Right? So let's talk about a little more detail about how Qlik Talend Cloud, now that we know a little bit about what data products are and why you need them, let's talk about what we do, what our platform enables from a data product perspective. And we're going to take an example of SAP source data products in a supply chain domain for discussion purpose. Now, give us some stats about for a lot of companies, SAP is their lifeblood, right? 99, and these numbers are pretty staggering, actually. 99 of the 100 largest companies in the world use SAP. 77% of world's transaction revenue flows through SAP systems. 87% of global commerce goes through SAP. Pretty amazing, right? So you have very critical business data, your orders, your purchases, your invoices, all kinds of information is in your SAP system. And that data is needed for your analytics, for your AI to do things like demand forecasting or for optimizing your supply chain. So our customers are asking they need access to this SAP data and need to combine this with other non-SAP data for their AI use cases. So data products are a great way to deliver this SAP data for analytic purpose through different type of consumption methods. Because remember, data products are domain-oriented, so you can look at data products like orders, fulfillment, billing, receivable, different types of data products within the SAP ecosystem and within that domain, and you can package it for easier consumption. So in order to enable that within our platform, we have sets of capabilities that we have organized into 3 different planes. At the bottom, we have the data product engineering plane, which enables you to ingest data, integrate and transform the data, and create business-ready consumable data, right? And it's typically used by the data engineers aligned to the domains. The second plane above that is a data product management plane. It's a net new concept that's come from this world of treating data as a product. So if data product management team use this plane to build and manage their data products and the life cycle of data products. Everything from creation of data products to enhancement of data products to ultimately probably retirement of data products when they don't hold any more value. And then at the top, you have the data product marketplace plane, which is where data consumers come to search and find data products and use them, right? And these 3 planes work together, capabilities in these 3 planes, to create a unified data product experience for the enterprise. So let's take it one step further, right? So let's start with the data product engineering plane. So first thing you need to do is you need to get the data out of SAP, right? So multiple ways, we support multiple ways of getting the data out of SAP. The first 3 ways are at the database layer, and the bottom 3, color-coded differently, are getting the data from the application layer. So first couple of them is if your data is in a HANA database, we can get it out through triggers or log-based, right? If under the application there's other databases like Oracle, we obviously have log-based change data capture. Then in the bottom layer from the application, we support application extractors as well as ODP, application ODP, so you can get to like higher level views, HANA views, and things like that. And we just announced the new interface for OData, which is what's recommended by SAP. So in all of these scenarios, we're able to we have multiple ways of getting the data out of SAP, the initial load as well as change data, incremental change data capture in real time, and get it to the AWS platform. Whether it's S3, whether it's Redshift, whether it's Snowflake on AWS, whether it's Databricks on AWS, we support all of them to really get the data out and constantly flow it into the data platform. If we stick with the data extraction part, now we talked about that a lot of times you have to combine SAP data with non-SAP data, right, for these use cases. So within our product portfolio, we support multiple ways of getting the data out. Obviously, from databases, we support change data capture, so you can get data in real time out of the system. We also support capture of data through files. If your data sitting in files, you have data coming in through message streams, we can acquire them very easily. And if you have data sitting in SaaS applications, like Salesforce, like Workday, like ADP, we can get the data out. So basically, you could have the data in any source, in any format, and we can get the data out and deliver it to the AWS platform. We can hydrate the data lake, lakehouse, warehouse with that information in real time. So we stay with the data product engineering plane. So we have ingested that data from different sources, SAP and other sources, into the AWS environment, and that starts a raw layer. Now I need to integrate the data, join it, format it, shape it into a consumable form. So these different data product teams aligned to these different types of subdomains, they build pipelines in the product to do that work. And that includes everything from creating a data model, building transformation logic, data cleansing logic, joining and integrating the data, building automation, maybe formatting it into a dimensional model if you have a BI use case, or into a vectorized form if you have a Gen AI use case. So all that is enabled through our software. Now, specifically in the SAP world, we have a lot of pre-built accelerators to accelerate, to really speed up this work. We have extractors, replication tasks, data models, transformation rules, data mart design. All these are solution accelerators that we have that can speed this up, so you don't have to start from scratch if you're really focused on the SAP data. So now from there, we create new set of data, which is called a curated layer. So this is data that's aligned to these different domains. Subset of data is modeled, is integrated, is good quality. So in our platform, we support multiple ways you can transform the data. Right? So you can do classic ETL pattern that's been around for a long time. We support that pattern in our platform, and also the new native transformation methods of push down. So if you're in the world of Snowflake, if you're in the world of Databricks, if you're using a Redshift, if you're using EMR, you can use our graphical interface to build pipelines in a no-code approach, and we generate the code and we push down the execution to these platforms on AWS, right? So it's a no-code approach to building these robust pipelines, and provides a lot of automation underneath that. We've also built a copilot where you can describe in natural language what transformations you want to do, and it'll generate code for you. And it generates consumable data in multiple forms. So if, again, like I said, if you have a BI application, you want to convert data into a dimensional model, it provides automation there. You want to convert the data into a vectorized form because you want to build a RAG application for Gen AI, it can easily build data that form also, right? And then also it supports API-based integration if you have certain applications that are API-based. So now we have our curated data, so let's move up one plane. Now we're in the data product management plane. So I'm a data product manager aligned to these orders data product. So now I need to do multiple things. I have this data set, I need to package it up as a data product. I need to provide a lot of business semantics. What does this data product mean? What do these fields mean? What does the data set mean? What can it be used for? A lot of business knowledge around it, semantics around it. I can put data quality rules there because I'm the data owner. I can define data quality rules and checks and service level objective layer, access control policies and data protection if this data may contain some sensitive information. So I can define rules and policies to mask and tokenize the data, and policies in terms of who can access this data product, right? And then I can package it all up and I can activate this data product. And through this plane, I can also manage the life cycle of it. I can track who's using the data product, how many times was it used, for what purpose was it used, what is the feedback coming from the field, and then I can make iteration and new versions of the data product using the capability in this plane. And ultimately, if the data product is not being used, probably retire it because it's consuming resources. Right? And again, all of these capabilities are enabled in our platform for the data product managers. So if I move up one plane now, when you activate a data product, it gets published into a data product marketplace. So data product marketplace, like an internal consumption data product marketplace, where users, data consumers, can come and interact with the data products. So multiple capabilities there. They can search and find the data products pretty easily. They can understand them. They can trust them by looking at the data quality metrics behind it. They can look at the lineage of data. right? They can see who owns this data product. They can ask a question. They can understand it. They can learn how to use it. There are how-to guides. There's documentation around the data product. They have example code, how to use this data product. They can request access to the data product. They can launch analytic applications from this marketplace, and they can collaborate with each other. They can post comments and questions, and they can provide feedback to the data product management team. Now, the whole purpose of data products is to enable consumption, right? So now that you have data product, once I search and find these data products in the data marketplace, I can build analytic applications against them, whether it's just a simple dashboard or a RAG application. I can build a chatbot, an agent against that data, or I can launch some of the pre-built analytics, especially in the SAP world. We have a lot of pre-built analytic applications around these SAP data products that you can immediately launch from the marketplace. Now, some type of analysis, like order to cash, requires data across different data products. So you can actually tap into multiple data products and use the data and combine the data from different data products to build your analytics. Certain other data product teams may actually build composite data products, like, again, they're composable. So I should be able to take multiple data products and build new data products at a higher level and make them available for consumption. And this is what speeds up consumption. Consumers get access to trusted packaged data, which they can find very easily and learn and understand them in the marketplace, and immediately start to consume them. So it makes data more reusable. It makes data more usable because there are multiple ways I can use the data product. So to end, I'll take a quick customer example. One of our key customers is Schneider Electric. They're a multinational corporation. They specialize in digital automation and energy management. And they built out their data platform on AWS, combination of S3. They had Redshift for their analytic database. They were using Databricks on AWS for both running and executing their data pipelines as well as for analytics. And they selected the Qlik Talend platform to ingest data in near real time using CDC from SAP as well as from mainframe, and get the data quickly into their data platform, and then build pipelines and make the data ready for consumption for BI as well as AI type of use cases. And look at some of these numbers here. 70% acceleration in time to value, along with significant cost reduction. And this was one of the big programs they had. So leveraging our software along with the AWS data stack and Databricks. So this was the last slide. So we have a booth. Before we get to the questions, we have a booth over in the expo hall. Please stop by. You can look at the demo, ask us questions. And let me invite Michael. Why don't you come back up and talk a little bit about some of the other presentations you're doing?
Yeah, so come and join us on Tuesday and Wednesday. Tuesday at 2 p.m., Wednesday at 11 a.m. at the Qlik Expo. We're going to be doing a live technical demonstration of Event Fabric. You better get your hands dirty. We've got a demo app that you can play with. We want to bring Event Fabric and the eventing system alive with the whole progressive modernization story that we've been talking through and the composability story we've been walking through today. So do join us.
Great. Thank you, everyone. We'll open it up for questions.